Welcome to Universe Scientist Stories. Tonight, we turn our eyes away from the busy world and look toward the quiet depths of the ocean. We will leave the noise behind and drift into a realm of absolute peace. Dim your screen, settle in, and let us begin our slow journey into the blue night. Take a deep, slow breath. Feel the weight of the day begin to lift. Your mind is ready to rest. The thoughts of the afternoon are fading like mist. Tonight, there is nothing you need to accomplish. There is no problem you need to solve. The universe moves in its own quiet rhythm, and you are a part of it. Let yourself sink gently into the calm, as if you are floating on the surface of a still, endless sea. The surface of the ocean is beautiful and vast. It covers more than 70% of our planet, holding secrets that are billions of years old. Above the waves, the wind may blow and the storms may rage. But just a few meters below, a deep silence begins. It is a world of weightlessness. It is a place where time seems to slow down, and every movement becomes soft and effortless. As we begin our descent, the sunlight from above surrounds us. The water glows with a brilliant, clear blue. It feels as though we are suspended in pure light. But as we move deeper, centimeter by centimeter, the ocean begins its quiet work. It acts as a gentle filter, absorbing the colors of the world one by one, preparing us for the stillness of the deep. Sunlight arrives at the sea as a collection of every visible color. But water does not treat these colors equally. The first color to fade is red. Red light travels in long, gentle wavelengths, and the water absorbs them within the first few meters. A bright red stone, or a crimson fish, slowly loses its intensity. As you pass it, the red turns into a soft, dark gray. The color has not truly vanished from the creature. It is simply that the red light needed to see it has been left behind. This absorption of red light happens because water molecules vibrate at a frequency that matches the energy of long light waves. The water molecules swallow this energy, turning it into tiny, invisible amounts of heat. By the time we reach a depth of only 5 meters, nearly 90% of the red light has been completely filtered out. The underwater world begins to shift, leaving behind the fiery colors of the upper world and wrapping itself in a cool, calming embrace. Next, the orange light begins to weaken. Orange waves are slightly shorter than red waves, so they survive just a little bit longer. They stretch down to about 15 meters before they too are quietly absorbed by the sea. Then, the warm tones of yellow fade away, disappearing around 30 meters. With every meter we descend, the ocean removes another layer of daytime brightness. The changes happen so smoothly that you barely notice them. It is a gradual sorting of light, a beautiful transition from the colorful world of the sun into a landscape made entirely of blue. Green light persists longer, stretching its soft fingers down toward 50 meters. In coastal waters, where tiny particles and organic matter float in the currents, green light can scatter intensely, creating an emerald fog. But in the deep, open ocean, even the green eventually tires. It grows pale and thin, losing its strength until it dissolves into the surrounding water. Only the purest, most tranquil shades of indigo and violet remain. Blue light penetrates farther into the sea than any other color. Its short, energetic wavelengths can travel through water molecules with ease. Instead of being swallowed immediately, blue light bounces from one water molecule to another, scattering across the depths like stars in a twilight sky. This scattering is the true reason why the open ocean appears so deeply blue from an airplane. The water is actively preserving the blue photons, letting them drift through the dark layers, creating a cathedral of quiet, silver blue light. As the light scatters, the sun overhead loses its sharp edges. It is no longer a burning disk in the sky. It becomes a soft, radiant ceiling that spans the entire horizon. Shafts of pale blue illumination dance around us, completely silent, moving with the slow breath of the swells far above. The water supports your body, taking away all weight, all pressure from your joints. You are simply drifting, a quiet observer in a kingdom of water, moving past millions of tiny suspended particles that glisten like dust motes in an old, peaceful room. This upper, sunlit realm is known as the photic zone, or the epipelagic layer. It is the heart of the ocean's life, stretching from the surface down to about 200 meters. Here, the energy of the sun is still strong enough to spark the miracle of creation. Billions of tiny, microscopic organisms called phytoplankton drift in the currents. They are the quiet, invisible forests of the sea. They do not have roots, and they do not have leaves, yet they perform the ancient dance of photosynthesis every single day. Phytoplankton capture the fading sunlight and turn it into oxygen and life-giving sugars. They are so small that a single drop of water can hold thousands of them, yet their collective power is immense. These tiny drifters produce more than half of the oxygen found in Earth's atmosphere. Much of the air breathed by living things across the continents ultimately traces its origin back to these sunlit waves. The ocean breathes for the planet, a slow, steady pulse that connects the deepest current to the highest mountain peak. Because of this abundant energy, the photic zone is a bustling sanctuary. Small, transparent animals called zooplankton drift alongside the phytoplankton, grazing on the microscopic green cells. Tiny, silver-sided fish dart through the light, their scales acting like mirrors to hide them from predators. Everything here moves with a purpose, yet everything is bound by the fluid nature of the water. The sea dictates the speed of life, smoothing out all sharp movements, turning every chase and every swim into a slow, balletic sequence. As we leave the phytoplankton behind and sink past 100 meters, the water grows noticeably cooler. The intense warmth of the surface cannot reach past these boundaries. The ocean is divided into layers by temperature, and we are approaching the thermocline. This is a region where the water temperature drops rapidly, not with a sudden, shocking chill, but with a gentle, refreshing calm. The heat of the atmosphere fades away, replaced by the eternal, stable coolness of the deep globe. The density of the water changes as it cools. Cooler water is heavier and more tightly packed than warm water, creating an invisible ceiling that separates the surface world from the deep. This boundary keeps the nutrients stored below from rising too quickly and keeps the warmth above from escaping. It is a delicate balance of physics that has remained stable for millions of years, ensuring that the ocean moves in a predictable, rhythmic cycle that protects all life within it. With every 10 meters of our descent, the pressure of the water increases by 1 atmosphere. At 50 meters, the weight of the sea is 5 times greater than the air at the surface. At 100 meters, it is 10 times greater. Yet, the creatures who live here feel no weight at all. They do not feel crushed by the massive ocean overhead. This is because their bodies are perfectly adapted to the pressure. They do not have air-filled spaces like human lungs. Instead, they are built of water, fats, and soft tissues that match the pressure of the sea around them, existing in perfect harmony with the laws of physics. Because their internal pressure matches the external pressure of the ocean, these marine animals move with absolute freedom. A fragile jellyfish, made of nothing more than delicate water and thin membranes, can drift through these heavy layers without sustaining a single tear. It reminds us that strength in the universe does not always come from being hard or rigid. Sometimes the greatest resilience comes from being fluid, from allowing the world around you to flow through you, rather than fighting against its weight. A school of silver fish glides past us in the blue dusk. They move as a single entity, a silent wave shifting without a sound. Each fish responds to the tiny pressure changes caused by its neighbor, using a line of sensitive cells along its body called the lateral line. This allows thousands of individuals to turn, dive, and rise in perfect unison, creating flowing patterns that look like smoke rising in the twilight. Their scales catch the last glimmers of green light, which is now beginning to fade, leaving only the deepest shades of indigo. The ocean contains massive, invisible rivers called currents. They flow for thousands of kilometers, moving cold water from the poles and warm water from the equator. These currents are driven by the spinning of the earth, the heat of the sun, and the saltiness of the water itself. As we drift, a gentle undercurrent carries us deeper. It is completely silent, a slow, planetary circulation that has kept the climate of the world balanced for billions of years, moving nutrients across vast dark plains where the sun never shines. We are now approaching the very edge of the sunlit zone, near 150 meters. The light overhead has become a faint, shimmering memory. The sun is no longer a source of heat, but a pale, distant spark. The world below us looks immense, dark, and completely undisturbed by the chaos of human life. It is a place of permanent sanctuary, where the noise of cities, the rush of traffic, and the clutter of thoughts cannot follow. The deeper we go, the safer the silence feels. At 200 meters, we officially enter the Mesopelagic zone, widely known as the Twilight Zone. This is a vast twilight that circles the entire planet, a layer of transition between the bright surface and the absolute blackness of the abyss. Here, daylight is almost gone, leaving behind an eternal, deep blue evening. Shadows have no edges here because the light is perfectly diffused by the endless water column. The water feels thick with peace, a calm cradle that holds the planet's deepest mysteries. In this twilight, the eyes of the creatures change. Many fish here possess large, telescope-like eyes directed upward, designed to catch every single remaining photon of sunlight filtering down from the surface. Their eyes are highly sensitive, containing special pigments that maximize vision in the blue spectrum. Every scrap of light is precious, and every form is viewed as a dark silhouette against the faint blue ceiling above. The ocean rewards patience and observation, teaching its inhabitants to watch the shadows with quiet care. Other creatures in the Twilight Zone use a different strategy to navigate the dim waters. They have developed the ability to produce their own light, a beautiful biological phenomenon known as bioluminescence. Small organs called photophores line their bellies and sides, glowing with a soft, cold, blue-green light. This light is created by a precise chemical reaction inside their cells, producing illumination without generating any heat. It is a flawless, efficient light that serves as a language in the dark. These glowing organs are often used for a clever type of camouflage called counter-illumination. By matching the color and brightness of the faint sunlight filtering down from above, a fish can make its own silhouette disappear to predators swimming below it. It becomes invisible, blending perfectly into the pale blue ceiling. It is a masterclass in subtlety, a way of existing in the world by becoming a part of the light itself, hiding in plain sight within the vast, trackless spaces of the mid-ocean. As the last traces of the photic zone fade behind us, billions of small creatures are preparing for a massive journey. Every single night, as the sun sets on dry land, the inhabitants of the Twilight Zone rise toward the surface to feed under the cover of darkness. It is the largest migration on the planet, involving an unimaginable mass of fish, shrimp, squid, and jellyfish. They move in total silence, ascending hundreds of meters to reap the bounty of the sunlit layers, and then descending back into the dark before the dawn returns. This vertical migration is a rhythmic pulse that moves the energy of the sun deep into the interior of the earth. It has repeated every single day for hundreds of millions of years, a timeless routine that connects the surface world to the deep abyss. Few humans ever witness this silent journey, yet it keeps the carbon cycle of our planet moving, cleansing the atmosphere and nourishing the deep. The ocean performs this monumental task without a single sound, guided only by the ancient cues of light and dark. Now look upward one last time. The surface world is entirely gone. The worries of the day are completely out of reach, separated from you by 200 meters of cool, heavy water. There is only the soft blue twilight, the gentle cradle of the current, and the slow, rhythmic breath of the sea. The water has washed away the noise, leaving your mind clear, still, and completely at peace. The ocean invites you deeper, into a place where the mind can finally rest, and sleep can arrive. Now the last traces of the familiar, sunlit world begin to fade away completely. The water above us stretches for a great, unimaginable distance, acting as a massive, heavy blanket that isolates us from the noise of dry land. Below us, the abyss opens up even farther, reaching down into the darkest, most untouched corners of our planet. In this kingdom of water, there is no longer a horizon to look at, no clouds to watch, and no changing weather to disturb the silence. There is only the pure, absolute nature of depth itself, and this quiet depth brings a completely different kind of calm to the human spirit. As we continue our slow, effortless descent past 1,000 meters, the very final photons of blue light grow weaker and weaker, losing their energy until they dissolve entirely into the surrounding sea. The transition is so gradual, so smooth, that you cannot point to a single line where day turns into night. Instead, the ocean gently removes every visible connection to the surface world, teaching us the beauty of letting go. Nothing disappears suddenly in the deep ocean, for everything unfolds with a timeless patience that has remained unchanged since the very first seas formed on Earth billions of years ago. High above us, the sunlight still touches the crests of the waves, winds still drive the surface currents, and the busy traffic of human life continues its loud, endless rush. But down here, within the heavy embrace of the water column, those distant events no longer possess any power or meaning. Distance creates a flawless barrier of silence, and depth creates a sanctuary of perfect stillness. The remaining blue light turns into a soft indigo haze, then into a ghost of a shadow, and then, without a single sound, it is gone. The darkness of the deep ocean does not arrive as a cold, heavy object, but rather as a soft, welcoming absence. It is an absence of visual noise, an absence of flashing signals, and an absence of daily urgency. In this quiet void, the human eye slowly stops expecting light, and the brain naturally stops its exhausting search for familiar shapes. The mind finally releases its deep-rooted habit of constant observation and worry. There is absolutely nothing demanding your attention here, nothing competing for your awareness, and nothing rushing toward a deadline. The deep sea offers us a rare, beautiful condition of existence, a place where time expands into something wider and more generous. Within this vast, dark space, your breathing naturally coordinates with the slow rhythm of the underwater world. The inhale becomes smooth and easy, and the exhale becomes long and relaxing, carrying away the last remnants of physical tension from your body. Imagine your breath moving like a gentle, slow undercurrent, rising and falling with perfect certainty. The ocean keeps the time for us, and the ocean never hurries, for its largest movements require centuries to complete. Around you, countless water molecules drift in total obscurity, each one carrying the ancient memory of the planet, having traveled through polar ice and tropical clouds before settling into the deep, enduring peace of the midnight layers. As we sink further into this permanent dusk, the water grows colder and denser, stabilizing at a temperature that never changes, regardless of the seasons passing far above. Whether it is summer or winter on the surface, down here the temperature remains locked between 1 and 2 degrees Celsius. This cold is not a sharp, piercing winter freeze, but a stable, soothing coolness that preserves everything it touches. Centuries pass, empires rise and fall on the continents, yet this dark water remains exactly the same, maintaining a grand thermal balance that protects the entire planet from the harsh extremes of outer space. This immense, dark region of the sea is known to science as the Bathypelagic zone, or more beautifully, the Midnight Zone. It represents the largest single habitat for life on Earth, occupying more than half of the entire ocean's volume. Most people spend their entire lives without ever thinking about this dark empire, yet it remains a vital anchor for our world. The Midnight Zone receives absolutely no sunlight, and no sunrise will ever break across its horizons. There is only one constant condition here, an endless, tranquil midnight that wraps itself around the globe like a quiet thought. The darkness found within the Midnight Zone is remarkably pure, free from the reflections, glares, and shadows that clutter the surface world. Near the top of the sea, light is constantly bouncing off waves and floating particles, creating a restless, shifting environment. But down here, the complete absence of solar light creates a perfectly stable optical environment. There are no illusions, no burning rays, and no blinding reflections. Between the rare, gentle flickers of living organisms exists a profound, velvety darkness that feels incredibly safe and protective, like a dark room designed for perfect sleep. The immense hydrostatic pressure of this zone increases steadily, centimeter by centimeter, with every layer of water pressing softly upon the layer beneath it. At a depth of 2,000 meters, the weight of the water column creates a force that is hundreds of times greater than the atmospheric pressure at sea level. To an unprotected human structure, this force would be devastating, requiring heavy, titanium walls to resist. Yet, the miraculous creatures that call the Midnight Zone their home move through this weight with absolute grace and comfort, their bodies having evolved over millions of years to live in perfect equilibrium with the abyss. Deep-sea animals do not feel crushed by the immense weight of the ocean because they do not possess air-filled spaces or fragile bones like terrestrial creatures. Their bodies are composed almost entirely of water and flexible, gelatinous tissues that match the density of the surrounding sea. Because liquids cannot be easily compressed, the pressure outside their cells perfectly balances the pressure inside. A delicate, transparent jellyfish can swim through these heavy currents without a single scratch, reminding us that true survival in a heavy world comes from matching the environment, rather than fighting its structure. The biological chemistry of these deep-sea organisms has adapted to the cold and pressure in ways that baffle modern science. Their cellular membranes are rich in special, fluid fats that prevent them from becoming rigid in the near-freezing water, allowing their nervous systems to function with smooth efficiency. Their proteins are stabilized by unique molecules that protect their shapes from collapsing under pressure. Life does not merely survive in the Midnight Zone. It thrives with a quiet, elegant certainty, proving that nature can find a way to bloom even in the complete absence of the sun. Contrary to what many people believe, the deep ocean is not a silent desert, for sound travels with extraordinary speed and clarity through seawater. Because water is much denser than air, sound waves move through it nearly 5 times faster, traveling across vast distances without losing their energy. The speed of these underwater sounds is guided by a delicate balance of temperature, pressure, and salinity. Together, these physical forces create a fascinating acoustic world, turning the deep sea into a vast medium connected by subtle vibrations rather than visual signals. At a specific depth within the Midnight Zone, these forces combine to create a natural phenomenon known as the SOFAR channel, or the sound fixing and ranging channel. In this unique layer, the decreasing temperature of the upper ocean and the increasing pressure of the deep sea create a zone where the speed of sound reaches its absolute minimum. When a sound wave is generated within this channel, it does not escape upward or downward. Instead, the laws of physics cause the sound wave to continuously bend back toward the center of the layer, trapping it in an invisible acoustic highway. Because sound remains concentrated inside this natural highway, a low-frequency vibration can travel across entire ocean basins, moving for thousands of kilometers without dissipating. A whale calling out in one part of the world can be heard by another whale an ocean away, their voices guided through the dark water by the shape of the sea itself. The deep ocean becomes a beautifully interconnected network, where messages and rhythms are carried through the cold, dense medium with a clarity that sunlight could never provide, allowing life to communicate across the void. As we drift deeper through this acoustic landscape, we begin to notice the presence of living lights floating in the dark like distant galaxies. This is bioluminescence, one of the most mesmerizing and poetic adaptations in the natural world. In an environment completely devoid of solar light, creatures have become their own suns, generating soft, cold illumination through precise chemical reactions inside their cells. Tiny silver flashes, long glowing tendrils, and soft blue halos drift past us, casting a dreamlike light onto the silent water. This living light is created when a specialized molecule called luciferin combines with oxygen, a process accelerated by an enzyme known as luciferase. Unlike the light bulbs created by humans, which waste most of their energy as heat, bioluminescence is nearly 100% efficient. It is a cold light, a pure illumination that does not emit warmth or burn the delicate tissues of the fish. In the midnight zone, this living light serves as a complex, silent language used by creatures to call out to mates, distract predators, or illuminate the dark pathways ahead. Some deep-sea squid can release clouds of glowing, luminescent ink instead of dark ink, creating a brilliant, sparkling decoy that blinds an attacker while the squid fades safely into the surrounding midnight. Other creatures possess rows of glowing spots along their bellies that mimic the faint, distant stars, breaking up their shapes so they become entirely invisible from below. It is a world of quiet magic, where the darkness is alive with soft, pulsing colors of blue, green, and violet, transforming the cold abyss into a peaceful, floating dreamscape. With every meter we continue to descend, the rhythm of life stays slow and unhurried. The animals of the midnight zone do not have the energy to rush, for food is scarce and must be conserved with careful precision. Many fish here have slow metabolisms and hearts that beat only a few times a minute, waiting patiently for nutrients to drift down from the upper world. They move only when necessary, gliding through the dark water with an economy of motion that feels deeply meditative, teaching us that there is power in waiting and beauty in stillness. Now, the upper layers of the ocean are miles above us, separated by a massive fortress of water and time. The surface world, with all its noise, demands, and fleeting concerns, has been completely erased from your awareness. There is only this endless, tranquil midnight, the supportive weightlessness of the sea, and the calm, steady movement of your breath. The deep ocean holds you in its safe, quiet embrace, allowing your thoughts to dissolve one by one, until your mind is as still as the water around you, and a deep, peaceful sleep can finally arrive. We leave the midnight layers behind, sinking softly into an even deeper sanctuary, where the true plains of the planet lie in eternal rest. As we cross the threshold of 4,000 meters, we enter the abyssal zone, a world whose very name means the bottomless pit. This layer extends all the way down to 6,000 meters, wrapping around the planet like a vast, cold coat of liquid space. Here, the water is older, heavier, and completely disconnected from the atmosphere above. The air you breathed this morning, the rain that fell last week, and the sunlight that warmed the land have no meaning in this quiet desert. Every element here has been filtered through miles of ocean, leaving only the raw, untouched essence of the globe. The landscapes of the abyssal zone look like nothing else on dry land, consisting of immense, flat areas known as Abyssal Plains. These plains cover more than 40% of the entire ocean floor, making them the most common landscape on our planet. They are wider than the deserts of Africa, longer than the mountain ranges of America, and completely level. Imagine a plain that stretches for thousands of kilometers in every direction, perfectly flat, covered in a thick, velvety layer of soft sediment that has been accumulating for millions of years in total darkness. This thick sediment is composed of the microscopic remains of ancient marine life, creating a pale, fine mud that covers the volcanic bedrock of the Earth. When a particle lands on the abyssal floor, it stays there forever, undisturbed by the violent winds or rushing rivers of the surface world. There are no footsteps to disturb this dust, no wheels to scar its surface, and no storms to blow it away. The abyssal plains are a monument to absolute stillness, a place where geological time moves so slowly that a single centimeter of mud can take 1,000 years to form. Through this dark void, a beautiful and gentle phenomenon occurs every single second, known to science as marine snow. Marine snow consists of organic particles that drift down from the upper, sunlit layers of the ocean, floating through the water column like tiny, silent snowflakes. These particles are made of dead plankton, tiny fragments of shells, and organic materials that have been abandoned by the creatures above. As they sink into the abyss, they carry the energy of the shallow sun down into the dark, feeding the unique ecosystem of the floor. This continuous, slow-motion blizzard is the primary source of food for the inhabitants of the Abyssal Plains, turning the dark mud into a slow-moving buffet. Because food is so scarce, the creatures here have developed specialized ways to gather these drifting flakes before they disappear into the sediment. Sea cucumbers with long, delicate tentacles crawl slowly across the mud, vacuuming up the organic dust with perfect efficiency. They move at a pace that makes a snail look fast, conserving every ounce of energy in a world where a single meal must last for weeks. The pressure in the abyssal zone is nearly unimaginable, reaching up to 600 atmospheres at the lowest boundaries. This means that every square centimeter of an object experiences a weight of 600 kilograms, equivalent to having an elephant standing on the tip of your thumb. Such force would instantly flatten any air-filled container, twisting metal like wet paper. Yet, the water itself does not collapse because liquids resist compression. The animals floating in this heavy layer are built entirely of these non-compressible fluids, meaning they feel absolutely no pressure at all. The bones of abyssal fish are thin, light, and remarkably flexible, containing very little calcium or heavy minerals that would require energy to grow. Their muscles are soft and jelly-like, designed for slow, rhythmic movements rather than sudden bursts of speed. Many species do not even have eyes, for eyes are expensive to maintain and serve no purpose in a world where solar light never arrives. Instead, they navigate using long, delicate antennas and highly sensitive hairs that feel the tiniest vibrations in the water, reading the dark through touch. One of the most enchanting creatures of this deep plain is the Dumbo octopus, named after its large, ear-like fins that resemble elephant ears. This tiny, delicate octopus does not jet through the water like its shallow cousins, but flaps its fins slowly, drifting above the mud like a small ghost. Its body is translucent and soft, perfectly adapted to the cold water that surrounds it. It moves without a sound, a symbol of pure gentleness existing comfortably beneath miles of heavy sea, proving that the deep is not a place of monsters, but a sanctuary of quiet life. The temperature here stays completely locked at just above freezing, hovering precisely around 1 degree Celsius. This cold water originally sank near the icy shores of Antarctica and Greenland, moving along the deep seafloor for hundreds of years to reach this exact spot. This polar current is incredibly rich in dissolved oxygen, ensuring that even the deepest valleys can support life. The water moves with a majestic slowness, a planetary conveyor belt that keeps the global climate balanced, operating on timescales that stretch far beyond a human life. In this cold environment, bacterial activity slows down to a fraction of its normal speed, meaning that organic matter does not decay quickly. A piece of wood or a bone that sinks to the abyssal floor can remain intact for decades, serving as a permanent oasis for specialized communities of organisms. Glass sponges, with skeletons made of pure silica, grow out of the mud like delicate crystal sculptures. They filter the water with an infinite patience, taking hundreds of years to grow just a few centimeters tall. their bodies as fragile and beautiful as frozen ice. Because the environment never changes, the concept of seasons does not exist in the abyssal zone. There is no spring rebirth, no autumn decay, and no difference between day and night. The calendar is completely erased, replaced by an eternal, peaceful present. This absolute consistency creates a profound sense of safety for the life that resides here. Nothing unexpected ever happens, no sudden changes disturb the peace, and the environment remains a perfect, unmoving cradle that has protected its inhabitants for eons. As we drift further across these vast, dark plains, your mind can align itself with this prehistoric stability. The concerns of your waking life, the temporary stresses of the day, and the endless clutter of thoughts are completely insignificant against the scale of the abyss. You are suspended in a world that has known nothing but peace for 4 billion years. The heavy water supports you, taking away the physical weight of your body and allowing your muscles to fully relax, melting into the supportive darkness of the sea. Every breath you take becomes deeper, mimicking the slow, steady circulation of the deep currents around you. The air moves in and out of your lungs with a soft, natural rhythm, carrying away the last traces of restlessness. There is no hurry here, no pressure to move forward, and no destination you need to reach. You are simply floating above the vast, silent plains of the world, a quiet observer of the planet's deepest sleep. The darkness holds you like a protective blanket, letting your thoughts drift away like marine snow. Now, look down into the beautiful velvety depth below. The abyssal plain stretches out into the distance, silent, still, and completely at peace. The surface of the earth is miles away, its noise entirely muted by the grand fortress of the sea. There is only this cool, tranquil water, the steady pattern of your breathing, and the timeless cradle of the abyss. The ocean invites you to fully let go, to release the day, and to sink into the deep, restorative rest that only the midnight world can provide. Close your eyes, let your mind become still, and let a peaceful sleep finally arrive. We drift past the endless plains, sinking lower into the final, deepest trenches of our planet, where absolute stillness dwells. As we move past 6,000 meters, we cross into the Hadal zone, the outermost frontier of the liquid earth. This rare layer is named after Hades, the ancient kingdom of the unseen, and it exists only within the deepest volcanic trenches of the globe. These trenches are narrow, steep-sided valleys that plunge miles beneath the regular ocean floor, forming the lowest geometric points on the surface of our planet. They are formed by the slow, majestic movement of tectonic plates, where the heavy crust of the sea slides beneath the continents, bowing downward into the mantle of the earth. There are roughly 40 of these deep trenches scattered across the globe, with the vast majority hidden beneath the waters of the Pacific Ocean. The most famous of these is the Mariana Trench, a crescent-shaped scar in the Earth's crust that drops down to nearly 11,000 meters at its lowest point, a spot known as the Challenger Deep. If the highest mountain on dry land were placed inside this trench, its peak would still be covered by more than 2 kilometers of water. It is a place of absolute isolation, a series of hidden underworlds that remain completely untouched by the life and light of the upper world. The hydrostatic pressure at the bottom of the Hadal zone reaches a staggering 1,100 atmospheres, a physical force that is almost impossible to comprehend. This means that every single square inch of a creature's body must withstand a weight of nearly 8 tons. equivalent to having several large industrial vehicles pressing down on a space no larger than a postage stamp. Such extreme force would immediately destroy any standard scientific instrument, crushing heavy steel hollows into flat sheets of metal. Yet, even in this environment of maximum compression, the laws of physics allow life to maintain its delicate, fluid balance. The specialized organisms that inhabit these deep trenches are mostly small invertebrates, such as amphipods, sea cucumbers, and tiny polychaete worms that look like threads of silk. These hadal amphipods, which resemble translucent shrimp, have evolved a unique chemical compound in their bodies called trimethylamine N-oxide, which protects their cellular proteins from collapsing under pressure. Their cellular membranes are built with highly unsaturated fatty acids, ensuring that their biological tissues remain perfectly fluid and functional in the near-freezing water, allowing them to swim through the heavy void with total ease. Food in these deep trenches is incredibly rare, yet the unique V-shaped geometry of the valleys acts as a natural funnel for the entire ocean above. Material that sinks from the sunlit layers eventually slides down the steep mud walls of the trenches, accumulating at the very bottom to create a rich, organic layer of nutrients. This process ensures that the floor of a trench often holds more microbial life than the flat abyssal plains surrounding it. Tiny bacteria break down these ancient organic remnants with an infinite patience, operating on a metabolic clock that is slowed to a whisper. The water temperature at the very bottom of the trenches remains completely stable, hovering between 1 and 4 degrees Celsius throughout the millennia. This cold water is kept from freezing by the immense pressure overhead and the gentle internal warmth radiating from the hot mantle of the earth below. There are no currents here to cause sudden shifts, no waves to disrupt the silence, and no changes in chemistry to break the profound stability of the environment. It is a world of permanent sanctuary, a place where the universe has locked away its deepest secrets behind a wall of pure water. As we float at the very bottom of the world, within the majestic silence of the Challenger Deep, the concept of human time disappears entirely. The fast-paced worries of your day, the restless thoughts of your mind, and the weight of your responsibilities cannot cross this final frontier of the sea. You are completely supported by miles of ancient water, held in a state of absolute weightlessness where your muscles can completely release their tension. Your body is as light as a drifting particle, resting in the most secure, undisturbed place on the entire planet. Every breath you take is slow, rhythmic, and effortless, perfectly mirroring the quiet, timeless nature of the Hadal trenches around you. The air moves in and out of your chest with a soft, soothing pattern, clearing your mind and bringing a deep sense of peaceful emptiness to your awareness. There is nowhere else you need to go, nothing else you need to see, and no task left for you to finish. You have reached the ultimate bottom of the sea, the place of perfect rest, where the planet itself is asleep beneath the weight of the dark ocean. Now, let the soft, velvety darkness of the deepest trench wrap around your consciousness like a warm, protective embrace. The surface world is miles above, its noise completely silenced, its light entirely forgotten in the peaceful midnight of the deep. There is only this cool, tranquil water, the gentle rise and fall of your breath, and the endless sanctuary of the sea. The ocean has washed away the day, leaving your mind perfectly still, calm, and ready to rest. Close your eyes completely, let your thoughts dissolve into the blue void, and let a deep, beautiful sleep finally arrive. As we continue to float across the cold, dark plains of the abyss, we discover that the deep ocean hides its own secret fires, creating warmth in the heart of the frozen dark. In certain regions of the seafloor, where the tectonic plates are slowly pulling apart, the crust of the earth cracks open, allowing magma to heat the water beneath the stone. This superheated water, rich in sulfur and heavy minerals, bursts through the seafloor back into the ocean, forming towering mineral chimneys known as hydrothermal vents. These vents rise out of the dark mud like ancient, silent towers, releasing thick plumes of mineral dust that look like black and white smoke in the beam of our light. The water emerging from these chimneys is incredibly hot, yet it does not boil because the massive pressure overhead holds it in a liquid state. Around these burning chimneys, in the complete absence of sunlight, nature has created some of the most unique and crowded oases on the planet, thriving against all odds. These ecosystems do not depend on the sun for energy, completely ignoring the process of photosynthesis that supports the upper, shallow world. Instead, the life here relies on an ancient process known as chemosynthesis, where specialized bacteria turn the toxic chemicals from the vents into pure, life-giving sugars. It is a completely independent kingdom of life, proving that the universe can find a way to bloom in the most hostile environments. Massive colonies of giant tube worms, with brilliant crimson plumes, grow tightly around the warm mineral waters, their bodies reaching up to 2 meters in length. These creatures do not have mouths, eyes, or stomachs, living in a perfect symbiotic relationship with the chemosynthetic bacteria that reside inside their tissues. The bacteria provide nutrients for the worm, while the worm collects the necessary chemical compounds from the water, creating a quiet partnership that has survived for millions of years. Alongside them, pale, blind crabs and swarms of transparent shrimp move through the mineral fog, creating a crowded city of life. Further away from the fires of the vents, another beautiful and poetic phenomenon occurs on the deep plains, known to science as a whale fall. A whale fall happens when a massive whale completes its natural life cycle in the upper ocean, and its heavy body begins a long, slow descent down to the abyssal floor. This event represents one of the largest single transfers of nutrients from the surface world into the deep, dropping a massive oasis of energy onto a barren desert that has been starving for weeks. When the whale body reaches the bottom, it immediately triggers a biological gold rush that will unfold with an extreme slowness over the next several decades. In the first stage, large scavengers like sleeper sharks and blind hagfish arrive from kilometers away, guided through the dark by the subtle scent of the water. They feed gently on the soft tissues, taking only what they need, moving with a quiet economy of motion. This initial stage can last for up to 2 years, leaving behind a massive, clean skeleton that rests quietly on the pale sediment. In the second stage, the bones themselves become a sanctuary for thousands of small, specialized invertebrates, including unique worms known as ostacs or bone-eating worms. These tiny, feather-like creatures do not have teeth, but release a special acid that dissolves the bone minerals, allowing them to absorb the fats hidden inside the skeleton. Thousands of these colorful worms carpet the bones, turning the white skeleton into a living, breathing forest that dances slowly in the deep currents, proving that even in death, the whale continues to support the life of the planet. Finally, in the third and longest stage, which can last for more than 50 years, chemosynthetic bacteria take over the remaining structures, breaking down the lipids inside the bones. They release a steady, quiet stream of compounds that feed deep-sea mussels, sea anemones, and primitive crabs, turning the whale fall into a permanent reef. A single whale can keep an entire ecosystem alive for nearly a century in the dark. A beautiful cycle where the energy of the shallow sun is slowly gifted to the deep abyss, ensuring that nothing in nature is ever wasted. As we drift past these silent monuments of life and time, your mind can fully release the last worries of the daytime world, sinking into the same patient rhythm. The ocean teaches us that every process takes time, that every life is connected, and that there is a deep, underlying intelligence guiding the movements of the universe. The water cradles your body completely, removing all effort from your muscles, letting you float like a single grain of sand above the ancient wonders of the sea floor. You are perfectly safe, perfectly still, and entirely at rest. Every slow inhale brings a deep sense of peace to your chest, and every slow exhale carries away the final thoughts from your mind, leaving your awareness clear and quiet. There is no urgency here, no noise to disturb you, and no task left for you to complete in the waking world. You are simply a witness to the deepest, most stable sanctuary on earth, where the water protects you from the rush of life. Let the gentle darkness hold you, let the rhythm of the deep sea soothe your spirit, and let a deep, restorative sleep finally arrive. As we gently begin our ascent from the deepest trenches, we return to the wide, open spaces of the water column, where the darkness itself begins to glow with 1,000 tiny stars. In the deep, open waters between the floor and the surface, life has created its own light to conquer the permanent darkness of the sea. This living light is known as bioluminescence, a chemical reaction where creatures combine a special protein called luciferin with oxygen to create a cold, beautiful glow. Unlike the hot lights of the human world, this biological illumination loses absolutely no energy as heat, making it the most efficient light in the universe. More than 80% of all the animals living in the open water column possess the ability to flash, glow, or beam their own light into the blue void. As we float through this liquid night, we find ourselves surrounded by a shifting galaxy of blue and green sparks, drifting around us like fireflies in an endless summer evening. The creatures of the deep use these lights not to banish the dark, but to communicate with one another in a silent, visual language that has no words. A single jellyfish can send ripples of neon blue light cascading down its translucent body, signaling to others across the void, while tiny shrimp can eject clouds of glowing blue fluid to confuse a predator and escape into the shadows. Many species of deep-sea fish possess long arrays of glowing spots along their bellies, which serve a brilliant, protective purpose called counter-illumination. By matching the faint, dim light filtering down from the distant surface, these animals completely erase their own silhouettes from the view of predators swimming beneath them. They become completely invisible, blending perfectly into the fading light of the water column, hiding in plain sight through the pure mastery of physical laws. It is a world where light is used as a shield, a camouflage, and a quiet whisper in the dark. Other predators, like the famous dragonfish, use light as a hunter's tool, flashing a bright white beam from a small organ beneath their eyes like a searchlight in the night. This light allows them to spot tiny prey in the dark water, while they themselves remain completely hidden from view. Some dragonfish have even evolved the rare ability to produce a deep red light, a color that is completely invisible to almost every other animal in the deep sea. They hunt in a secret, private spectrum of light, illuminating the dark with a crimson beam that only they can see. As we move higher, we encounter the magnificent siphonophores, which are long, colonial creatures that look like delicate chains of glowing lace floating in the current. A single siphonophore can grow to be more than 40 meters long, making them some of the longest animals on the entire planet. Yet their bodies are as thin and fragile as a thread of silk. They drift through the midwater like glowing, bioluminescent nets. They're hundreds of tiny modules working together in perfect, quiet harmony to survive in the great emptiness of the open ocean. The sheer beauty of this living galaxy allows your mind to fully let go of the rigid, heavy thoughts of the waking world, dissolving into the gentle rhythm of the glowing currents. The lights flash and fade in a slow, hypnotic pattern, inviting your awareness to match their peaceful, effortless cycle. Your body feels completely weightless, suspended in a warm, protective envelope of water that carries away all remaining physical tension from your muscles. You are simply a part of this deep, silent universe, drifting through a space where time has no meaning. Every breath you draw is long, smooth, and deeply relaxing, filling your lungs with a quiet stillness that spreads through your entire being. With every exhale, the last traces of restlessness leave your chest, floating away into the dark water like a tiny spark of biological light. There is absolutely nothing you need to fix, nowhere else you need to be, and no burden you need to carry into the night. You are safely cradled by the vast, ancient sea, surrounded by a peaceful galaxy of living stars that guards your rest. Let the soft, rhythmic pulsing of the glowing creatures soothe your spirit, clearing away the final echoes of the busy day. The deep ocean holds you in its immense, loving sanctuary, protecting you from the noise and pressure of the surface world with a wall of miles of quiet water. Your eyelids are becoming heavy, perfectly aligned with the deep, natural rest of the planet's hidden spaces. Close your eyes completely, let your mind float freely among the drifting lights, and sink into a beautiful, unbroken sleep.